welcome along to Snetterton for the final weekend of racing in the 2025 GT Cup Championship calendar. It's our second visit to Norfolk, and once more this weekend we'll be racing on the Snetterton 300 circuit and crowning our 2025 champions. But before we look forward to what's going to go on this weekend, let's look back at what happened last time out at Donington Park. Welcome along to Donington Park, everybody. The 2025 GT Cup Championship coming up for you very shortly. There were tricky track conditions in the first race of the weekend. Peter Ursig having a spin at the very first corner. It was damp, it was tricky, cars were struggling for grip, and that caused problems out on track for a few throughout the course of the race. But there were still some great battles going on. Tom Walpole at the wheel of the KTM Crossbow, for instance, was having a great fight. But it'd be Mark Smith and Paddock Motorsport that would come through to claim the win. The sun had come out. We were about to get another race underway with Mark Smith leading the charge up towards Redgate Corner for the first time, and the gold McLaren of Darren Kell trying to squeeze its way through the order. Frank Morris was having a great battle with the Kaylee's Porsche for the lead of Group GTC, and also Jack Gadd was trying to home in on his first win of the season in his group. Problems for Doc Brush, there'd be a brief safety car, the battles would continue, and once more Peter Ursig, as he had earlier on in the weekend, had problems. Mark Smith would come through to claim yet another win in the McLaren. As ever here at Snetterton, the entry list contains the usual names. However, there are some drivers joining us for the first time in GT Cup this weekend, and we managed to catch up with them earlier on today. Charlie, Jamie, you join us making your debut on the GT Cup grid this weekend. You've been racing together as competitors all season. You teamed up in a car this weekend.
Yeah, really looking forward to it. Wouldn't have expected to be here with Jamie at the start of the year, I can tell you that much, but I'm very glad that he's in with me this weekend and hoping for a good result.
Jamie, you've been fighting away in the Ginetta GT Championship this season with Charlie. What are your thoughts and your expectations coming into GT Cup this weekend as we reach our final weekend of racing?
I think it's been a great season for both of us. We've both been fighting at the sharp end of the championship, so we both know that we're accomplished drivers. We're good at driving the car. We've had minimal testing with this one, but it's exciting. For me, it's my first time on slicks, and it's a great car to drive, so I think we're in a strong chance of a good result.
It's that whole dynamic from having raced all season on your own. You've now got a teammate, it's a new team. Ginetta, but it's a different car, the steering wheel's on the opposite side, so there's still a few things to try and work through.
Yeah, absolutely. As Jamie says, with minimal testing, it's kind of, getting used to the car, getting used to the format of the weekend and everything. It's all new, learning fast, but yeah, with the help of Triple M, who are doing a great job, we're getting there.
Toe in the water for this weekend. Is this sort of sowing a seed for what you might be doing in 2026, or don't you simply know yet?
I think we'll have to see. I mean, I'd like to be racing a Ginetta next year, but I can't say which one just yet.
And finally, I suppose, we've got people out there that'll be racing. They've got the championship to consider in the nicest possible way. You haven't this weekend, so is it sort of stay out of trouble but race hard?
Absolutely stay out of trouble for sure. But yeah, we're here to get a good result, so we'll be having some fun.
Well, it's great to see some new faces in GT Cup. Have a great weekend, guys.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.
So let's have a look at the Snetterton 300 circuit. Off the start line and through the first corner at Ritchie's into the heavy braking area at Wilson. You then flick left at Palmer and down the short straight in towards Agostini. The infield technical section brings you through Hamilton, the Kink, up towards Oggies and Williams. A critical corner. Carry all of the exit speed down the Bentley straight into the braking area. Difficult braking through Brundle and Nelson, the bomb hole, and then through the daunting, never-ending right-hander at Corham. Final corner is Murray's, which brings you up the centre straight to the start-finish line. That's a lap of the Snetterton 300. It's just under 3 miles long, 2.969 miles. And because the circuit is built on an old REF base, there's not much change in elevation, just 9 metres elevation change throughout the 3 miles. It's a technical circuit, some tight and twisty sections, some fast sections, 12 turns. That's a lap of the Snetterton 300. So there we go. The cars are lined up on the grid in advance of this first of 4 races we've got for you this weekend. 2 today, 2 tomorrow. This is the sprint race. We'll have the pit stop race with driver changes taking place later on today. Qualifying session, it was dry. We can see the man who sits there on pole position in the black and the day glow pink McLaren, Mark Smith. He won all 4 races last time out at Donington Park. He lies 4th overall in the championship standings, but he is the leader of Group GT3, and it's very close in Group GT3 because Darren Kell is not that far behind in terms of the championship scoring. He's just 8 points adrift. And then just off that is the Audi of Peter Ursig as well. So all 3 of those mathematically still within the shout of the GT3 title, whereas some of the other groups, champions have already been crowned. And we'll guide you through all of that as the race wears on. So then I can also tell you the way that the grid lines up, and also our drivers that are taking part in this sprint race, because the teams have to identify which driver will be behind the wheel. It's number 10, Mark Smith, the Paddock Motorsport McLaren that starts from pole position, and the Top Cats Racing Fraser Fenwick driven Lamborghini, which is the championship leading car, starts on the outside of the front row of the grid. Peter Ursig's Audi is joined by the track focus McLaren of Darren Kell on row number 2. And as we head on to row number 3 of the grid, it's going to be one of the Group GTC cars, which will be Frank Morris in his Lamborghini, alongside James Cayley, who will drive the Uber GT Performance Porsche. Next up is Owen Hizzy in the Ginetta, and for company he has got Hadley Simpson, who makes his debut in GT Cup this weekend. He's been racing in the Ginetta GT Championship this year. Archie Clark, who is the Ginetta GT champion, was crowned last weekend at Donington Park. He jumps on board the Aston Martin for this race, and alongside is the unusual KTM in the hands of Tom Walpole. And then it's Doc Bush and his Porsche that lines up alongside the Ocelli Aston Martin of what will be Matt Eddles for this race. Jack Gadd, who was a winner in Group GTC for the first time out at Donington Park last time out, he lines up on the inside of the 7th row of the grid, and he has got Jamie Cordell, who was runner-up in the Ginetta GT Academy this year, driving in the number 2 car. Next up, it's the Group GTA champions from this year. They lie 2nd in the overall championship, but are on not full championship scoring because of the number of cars in GTA this weekend. Neil Wallace will start. Alongside him is number 55, which is Michael McInerney. And off the back of the grid, Brent Millage drives the Innovation Racing number 54 Ginetta today. Simon Griffiths will take over driving duties of that car tomorrow. So it was dry in qualifying. Mark Smith qualified in a time of a 1:47.389. That was compared to a 1:49.140 for the car that lines up alongside. But Mark Smith's car is a full pucker GT3 McLaren, whereas it's a Lamborghini Super Trofeo spec Huracan of Fraser Fenwick that lies alongside. So 2 different cars from 2 different groups on the front row of the grid. They're all starting to get themselves into neat 2x2 order in advance of this 25-minute race that we're about to see. So we're about to get round 19 of the 2025 GT Cup Championship underway here at Snetterton. The McLaren and the Lamborghini on the front row of the grid, the Audi and the McLaren on row number 2. And it's a Lamborghini and a Porsche that sit there on row number 3. Red lights are on the gantry, and as they start to accelerate their way over the start-finish line, there's a bit of cement dust that's been put up from one of the earlier support races. We get the race underway. Round 19 of the GT Cup Championship is go, and it's a good start from Mark Smith. Fraser Fenwick instantly moves over to cover off what will be the inside line on the running towards Ritchie's. Trying right way around the right outside is Hadley Simpson at the wheel of the Innovation Racing Ginetta. He's had a really good start, but it's going to be Mark Smith that leads the charge up towards the braking area for the Wilson hairpin for the first time, and Hadley Simpson is already up into 4th position. He's gone past the Audi of Peter Ursig, so that's been a brilliant start from the number 30 car in the hands of Hadley Simpson. So they start to accelerate their way through Palmer, and the extra grunt of the GT3 Audi tells, and Peter Ursig is able to weave his way through and back past Hadley Simpson, but already you can see Mark Smith sprinting away in the lead of the race from Fraser Fenwick in 2nd place. Darren Kell from Peter Ursig 3rd and 4th, and it looks like Frank Morris has now also gone through and ahead of the fast-starting Hadley Simpson, who's been picked off by the Lamborghini. So Frank Morris having a really good run here. He's partnered up, not with his usual co-driver for this weekend, James Pickford, but it'll be Jamie Stanley that will hop on board that car for the pit stop race a little bit later on today. We'll try and work out who's the early leader in Group GTH, which I think is going to be Hadley Simpson. There's a spin for Matt Eddles, I'm afraid. That's coming out of Oggies, maybe just caught out on some cold tyres. So Matt Eddles spins the Aston Martin back round in the right direction. He gets going, but he has fallen to the very tail end of the field. Good to see Matt out this weekend because he had a sizable accident at Donington Park. The car looked rather second-hand, but chatting to him earlier on, he was fine and wasn't even sore or stiff the next day, but the car wasn't as badly damaged as they'd initially thought, so he's pleased to be back out there, but he's left himself a chunk of work to do. There's the Triple M Racing number 2, Jamie Caudle-driven Ginetta. Jamie making his debut in GT Cup this weekend, but for the lead of Group GTH, 2 Ginettas fighting away by the look of things. The number 30 car of Hadley Simpson has got Owen Hizzy right behind him. Then you've got the KTM crossbow of Tom Walpole that runs in Group GTC. KTM with a bit more grunt in a straight line. The clamshelled front of the car nips past both of the Ginettas in a straight line. So that's Tom Walpole gaining a couple of places there. That will now put him up to 7th overall in this race. And now he will try and set his sights about the Porsche that lies just ahead of him, which will be the Uber Performance number 80 Porsche in the hands of James Cayley for this race. His son Bill will take over and share driving duties over this weekend. So for the lead of Group GTH, the 2 Ginettas going beautifully well at this stage. They qualified within a whisker of each other. There was only a tenth of a second separating them in qualifying, the time that Owen Hizzy posted to set the 7th quickest time in qualifying, but the fastest of the Group GTH cars. And you can see race pace, the 2 Ginettas are absolutely there. And Archie Clark in the Aston Martin is another Group GTH car as well. He's not that far behind. So they start to thread their way up towards the difficult left-hand kink at Hamilton, and then on towards the brakes for Oggie's Corner. Still with Hadley Simpson having to work overtime to try and keep Owen Hizzy behind him. But Mark Smith, our race leader, you can see the advantage he has already built up between himself and the car that leads the championship, Fraser Fenwick, who's sharing with Charlotte Gilbert this weekend. Started the season sharing with Ian Campbell. Ian away now racing in other championships, but it's the car that scores the points. So Fraser Fenwick, Ian Campbell, Charlotte Gilbert have all shared that number 23 Lamborghini throughout the course of the 2025 championship season. Peter Ursig trying to get up onto terms with Darren Kell at the wheel of his McLaren. Darren's a driver who again is solo driving for this weekend. We've seen his son James out for a couple of the races, the 100-minute race at Donington Park and the 100-minute race at Silverstone. But Darren on his own for this weekend, because I think his son James will be racing in GT World Challenge Europe, which will be at Barcelona this weekend. So over the start-finish line, lap number 2 completed. The squabble for the lead of Group GTH still absolutely raging. Hadley Simpson still trying to keep at bay the aspirations of Owen Hizzy. And at the front, the final podium spot, still going the way of Darren Kell at this stage, despite the very close attentions of the Audi R8 in the hands of Peter Ursig, who's had some good success with this car this year, and in previous seasons when he's been racing in other championships again has been a multiple race winner. But for Peter Ursig, Marcus Clutton and Hugo Cook, who briefly made an outing in that car, they've had a consistent season, finished 2nd and 3rd on numerous occasions. No wins for the Audis this year, and they did have a troubled last race at Donington Park where there was contact that was made and Peter Ursig was handed a penalty as a result of that. So that's championship points lost for them, but they'll be hoping to right the wrongs of Donington and have a good weekend here. So just carving their way out of the right-hander at Williams onto the Bentley straight. The gap between the McLaren and the Audi was just 0.4 of a second at the start of this lap. Has Peter Ursig been able to pick up a toe from the McLaren that lies ahead as they continue to squabble over 3rd and 4th place. He's close but not close enough in towards the braking area for Brundle and Nelson. So it's still McLaren from Lamborghini, from McLaren from Audi, from Lamborghini from Porsche, the top 6 at this stage, and they're about to complete what will be lap number 3. Now the championship points up for grabs, subject to the number of starters in your group. If you've got the maximum number of starters, it's 25 points for the win. If you've got fewer starters, which the likes of Group GTA have this weekend, where there's only 2, it's just 18 points for the win there. So over the start-finish line goes Fraser Fenwick. Then this squabble for 3rd and 4th place, and that is a very, very slidey Porsche in the hands of James Cayley. Tom Walpole wiggling his way through and past, so that's a change for order. That will put Tom Walpole now up to 3rd in Group GTC, and that will put him 6th overall. And now that James Cayley has lost 1 place, there's another car queuing up behind him, which will be another Group GTC car. That's the car that runs 5th in Group GTC, 8th overall, the black and Dalo green Lamborghini of Jack Gadd, another driver who made his debut earlier on this season in GT Cup and has thoroughly enjoyed his season. So he claimed a group win for the first time out at Donington last time. Now, Peter Ursig still hasn't quite yet been able to scratch his head and work out how to weave his way through into third place overall. He's trying hard, but Darren Kell at the moment is just making sure he keeps the McLaren just ahead of the Audi. And this little bit of squabbling might just lose them a little bit of time to Fraser Fenwick that lies up the road, but Fraser is a Group GTC car, whereas behind the McLaren and the Audi running Group GT3. And of course it's a Group GT3 car that still continues to lead, which is Mark Smith. For the lead of Group GTH, still all together. Now the problem is for Hadley Simpson is that he is bottled up behind Jack Gadd at this stage. Now in a straight line the Lamborghini should have more grunt than the car behind it, so should pull back away from the Ginetta. In fact, Jack Gadd is in full attack mode. He's trying to attack James Cayley's Porsche, and he's going to go through on the run down in towards Brundle and Nelson. So place gain for Jack Gadd. He's now up to 7th overall. That will put him 4th in Group GTC as he goes past the Group GTC Porsche. And then just behind those are the two cars fighting for the lead of Group GTH, which are the two Ginettas. First of which is Hadley Simpson, the next of which is going to be Owen Hizzy. And if you're wondering what the difference is between all of the cars, Group GT3, it's for GT3 cars. Group GTC is for current and later model challenge spec cars, in other words, within the last 5 years or so. That's merged with Group GTB, which is for the earlier challenge spec cars. Then we get Group GTH, that's for GT4 homologated cars. And then Group GTA is for lower specification Cup and Challenge cars, one-make GT cars and older GT4 cars. So those are the different groups that we have. And for the lead battle of GTH, for the GT4 cars, it's still Hadley Simpson, Innovation Racing, still fighting away with the SVG Motorsport number 99 car in the hands of Owen Hizzy that sits behind. Owen having raced an Aston Martin in British GT last weekend at Donington Park, with Michael Arant, who is a former GT Cup racer, having raced for Paddock Motorsport a few seasons ago in a McLaren Artura. So Darren Kell still doing a good job of keeping Peter Ursig at bay at this stage. The gap between them is still just 3.5 tenths of a second as they came over the start-finish line. They are not making any inroads into the Group GTC leading car, which runs 2nd overall Fraser Fenwick at this stage. They are 5.5 seconds adrift of the second place car. And last time through we're still lapping slower, so Fraser still edging away in 2nd place from the brilliant battle for 3rd and for 4th place. And already, amazingly, we are 10 minutes through this 25-minute race, with Mark Smith leading by now nearly 9 seconds. And of course adding to his championship tally in the lead of Group GT3. Out of Murray's, over the start-finish line they will go. Looks as though Jack Gadd has made further progress on this lap, because he's now through and ahead of the KTM crossbow of Tom Walpole. So that's Jack Gadd now up to 6th overall, and that puts him up to 3rd in Group GTC now. Tom Walpole, who is only doing today's racing, tends to just do a single day of GT Cup. Hopefully we might see him for a full season next year and all weekend as well, because it's always good to see the KTM out. Very unusual car. So the whole of the front of it lifts up, so the roof and the windscreen all lift up. It's a clamshell design on that car, and when Tom's behind the wheel of it, it is very quick. He also took a win in Group GTC last time out. And for the lead of Group GTA, we've got a battle as well. Matt Eddles at the wheel of the recovering Aston Martin. That's a Group GTH car, but the BMW and the Ginetta together, and that is Brent Millage, who is giving Neil Wallace a thing or two to think about at this stage. Brent Millage trying to see if he can squeeze his way through on the BMW. No, not quite. So for the moment, just having to be content with what will be 17th place overall and 2nd in Group GTA. But the two Group GTA cars have found themselves absolutely together. Battle for the lead of Group GTH heads in towards Agostini. It was just the two Ginettas, and Archie Clark had fallen away a little bit, but the Aston Martin is starting to come back again now, and that's largely because they're busy fighting away for the lead of Group GTH. Hadley Simpson still squabbling away with Owen Hizzy, who takes a nice wide sweep in towards the right-hander at Oggies. Tries to get the undercut, will he? No, can't quite do it on the way out and the run up towards Williams, so a good exit out of Williams might offer up a possibility as they head down the Bentley Straight. Owen Hizzy will try and get a toe off the car ahead. We can see Mark Smith with the fastest lap of the race last time through, 1:48.728 from Mark Smith. But for the lead of Group GTH, Hadley Simpson still doing a very, very good job of keeping Owen Hizzy at bay. Now this particular number 30 Ginetta is the one that Simon Griffiths has raced all season. We've seen Ray Harris behind the wheel of it. But because it is the car that scores points, then Hadley Simpson, who is partnered up with Luke Bennett, who is the World Esports champion, they'll be sharing the car later on today. They'll be scoring points for the number 30 car, which at the moment lies third in the championship standings in Group GTH, but could work its way up through to second in the standings without too much trouble. But the first thing to do for Hadley Simpson is try and keep the charging Owen Hizzy at bay. Owen pushing hard. Now Owen Hizzy is a pro sporting driver, so he can only take part in one of the 2 sprint races this weekend. It'll be Mark Smith for sure that will be in the sprint race tomorrow. And as they head out of the Wilson hairpin and up towards Palmer, the relative gap between the pair of them is still just a tenth of a second as they came over the start-finish line. There is just no let-up in the pressure. It's probably about the largest it's been now. Owen Hizzy having just fallen away by an extra Ginetta's length to Hadley Simpson, and starting to come into the clutches a little bit of what is Archie Clark. A locked brake though for Hadley Simpson. The unloaded wheel heading in towards Agostini goes to show just how hard he's trying still, and straight away that small little lock-up has allowed Owen Hizzy to get right back onto the coattails of the Group GTH leader. And still right on the coattails of the third place car, Darren Kell, is Peter Ursig, who is not letting up the pressure, with now just over half of the race having elapsed. So 12 minutes of the scheduled 25 to go. Still the fight on for second and third, but for first and second place, a long way up the road, is the race leader Mark Smith, who completes lap number 7 and has a 15-second lead between himself and Fraser Fenwick. And then the gap from Fraser Fenwick's Lamborghini back to these 2 cars is a further 8.5 seconds at this stage. So up towards the right-hander at Ritchie's. They're on lap number 8 at the moment. That fastest lap from Mark Smith has not been bettered as yet. 1 minute 48.728 from Mark Smith. Darren Kell at the moment, because he's having to defend, has just done his best lap of the race, and that's a 1 minute 51.659. Peter Ursig did a 1 minute 51.620, so a few thousandths of a second quicker than Darren Kell last time through. Takes a slightly tighter line in towards the braking area for Agostini, but I think that was just a case of showing the nose of the car to Darren Kell more than anything else. Peter was a bit too far away to challenge into that heavy braking area for the left-hand hairpin. And then flick their way left again through Hamilton and then in towards the right-hander at Oggies, with still the McLaren hanging on to third from the Audi at the moment. Darren will be driving solo all weekend, whereas Peter Ursig, come the pit stop race later on today, will have the pro driver Marcus Clutton to jump on board for part 2 of the race. Now, is there anything that Peter can do in a straight line heading in towards Brundle and Nelson? I think Darren Kell for the moment has everything under control. Again, a slightly tighter line taken in. Peter Ursig again just showing the nose of his Audi, trying to distract Darren Kell in the mirrors or get him to look down at the rear view camera that the GT3 McLaren will have. But at the moment, Darren Kell doing a good job of just making sure he gets cleanly off the corners, positions the car where he needs it to be, and isn't too worried at this stage about Peter Ursig, because whilst he's close, he's not quite still ever got close enough. Any small mistake though, and Peter Ursig is going to capitalise on that as they head over the start-finish line now to complete lap number 8. And we're now into the final 10 minutes of this race. Up towards Ritchie's, Peter Ursig again just weaving around in the mirrors of Darren Kell, nothing doing now. Darren again just taking the usual racing line in. He just comes over to cover off the inside line on the approach towards the Wilson hairpin, which allows Peter Ursig to edge up ever closer to him. Quarter of a car's length between the pair of them as they exit the corner. And then in towards the left-hander at Palmer. Through the left-hander, get on the gas again as soon as you can. Be careful not to run wide and break the track limits at that point of the circuit, and they've got traffic up the road to deal with as well before too much longer, and that will be the cars that are squabbling for the lead of Group GTA, because we've still got Neil Wallace fighting away with Brent Millage, and that's the BMW and the Ginetta just up the road from this second and third place squabble. Now for Darren Kell, he would desperately like to meet these 2 cars on the Bentley straight so that it doesn't compromise his run through a corner. For Peter Ursig, he will want to make sure that if Darren Kell gets through on the straight, that he also gets through as well and doesn't get snarled up behind them, waiting to weave their way through the difficult section at Brundle and Nelson. So a flash of the lights. Darren Kell, is he going to be able to overtake both of the back markers before Brundle and Nelson. He's going to have a good go to sneak his way through. He gets one of them, which is Brent Millage, but he gets snaffled up behind the Neil Wallace-driven BMW, and there's nothing he can do about it. Peter Ursig takes the opportunity through the traffic to squeeze his way through. So Darren Kell just got caught out through the traffic. Not of any ill doing of Neil Wallace, it was just purely where he met the traffic and then couldn't quite decide what he wanted to do. And straight away, Peter Ursig, that was the little glimmer of hope that he wanted. He's through to take up third position. And as for Neil Wallace and Brent Millage, they can now resume their battle again for what is first and second place in Group GTA. 8 minutes to go. Over the start-finish line, they will work their way, whilst down towards Brundle and Nelson go the top 3 cars in Group GTH. Still Hadley Simpson from Owen Hizzy, with Archie Clark in the Feathers Motorsport Aston Martin just that little bit further adrift. They are on their 9th lap of the race at the moment. See a bit of a wiggle mid-corner there from Owen Hizzy, so hard is he trying. At the wheel of the SVG Motorsport black and gold Ginetta, but Hadley Simpson at the moment still just managing to have the very small advantage over Owen Hizzy. About to come over the start-finish line, complete another lap. So Hadley, who finished in the top 6, I think it was, in the Ginetta GT Championship this season, still continuing to lead the way in Group GTH. Out to the right-hander at Ritchie's, using all of the curbs but no more, and then onto the brakes. You see the nose of the car dip as he's so hard onto the brakes, down a few gears through the right-hander at the Wilson hairpin, and again let the car run wide out onto the curbs on the exit. Pick up the throttle as soon as you possibly can, sprint very slightly uphill towards the left-hander at Palmer, and then there's a very slight crest just as you get to the exit curb there, and you're then very slightly downhill again in towards the braking area for Agostini. But still, the Snetterton circuit, on the base of it's built on an old airfield, it's fairly flat, so when we talk about uphill and downhill, it's literally a matter of half a metre. It's very, very flat indeed. Again, a wiggle mid-corner there from Hadley Simpson, telling you that he is pushing hard at this stage. Owen Hizzy is right back with him again. 6 minutes to go. This is the fight for the lead of Group GTH and the final 2 places inside the top 10, 9th and 10th position. And should they make any mistakes, still there and able to capitalise is Archie Clark at the wheel of the slightly older GT4 Aston Martin that sits behind. Owen Hizzy again showing the nose of the car this time to Hadley Simpson. They're not that far behind the 8th place car, which is going to be James Cayley at the wheel of the Uber GT Performance Porsche. That car runs in 8th place and is 5th in Group GTC at this stage. And our race leader, Mark Smith, we haven't seen much of him. That's because he is 20 seconds now up the road from Fraser Fenwick's Lamborghini in 2nd place. So it's a Group GT3 car that leads, a Group GTC car that's 2nd, Group GT3 cars 3rd and 4th at the moment, Group GTC in 5th, and a Group GTC that sits there in 6th place. But for Mark Smith, he spoke to me after qualifying this morning and he said he just could not believe how well the car felt this morning. He said it really does feel so comfortable in the car, and you look at the times that he's been posting in the race, it's not surprising because his pole time was a 1:47.3. His fastest race time is only 0.4 of a second shy of that, a 1:48.7, so yeah, sorry, 1.3 seconds shy of his pole time. So 5 minutes to go. Lead of Group GTH still going the way of the number 30 Ginetta of Hadley Simpson. So Hadley well used to racing Ginettas with his exploits this season in the GTP8, in the Ginetta GT Championship. Of course, this is a GT4 spec car. Owen Hizzy in 2nd place in Group GTH, still pushing hard, and was a little bit beyond the circuit limits just coming out of Agostini that time through. We've still got Archie Clark in the Feathers Motorsport Base Performance Simulators backed Aston Martin that sits there next up. He runs just outside of the top 10 in 11th place overall. But you can see that Owen Hizzy is not going to let Hadley Simpson get away with this one. He is sitting firmly with him. And for our race leader, Mark Smith, there's now traffic to deal with as well. He's just coming up against the squabble for 12th and 13th place, which is Doc Bush's Porsche, the silver car, prepared by Team Parker Racing with the Martini-esque stripes down the centre of it. He's involved with a good little fight with Michael McKinney. That's the next couple of cars that Mark Smith is going to have to work his way through and past. So is he going to squeeze his way past the former motorcycle racer Doc Bush? Not on the run in towards Brundle and Nelson. That's largely because Mark will be hearing on the radio that he's got time here. It doesn't matter if he loses a few seconds because he's 22 seconds up the road from the second place car. But what he does need to do is try and pick Doc Bush off. And of course what Doc doesn't want to do is make it easy for him, because he doesn't want to lose ground to the car that he's doing battle with. So Mark Smith will just have to be patient, bide his time, wait until the exit of Murray's to get on the power of the GT3 McLaren 720S and work his way over the start-finish line onto what should be his penultimate lap of the race this time through. So goes past Doc Bush down the straight and weaves his way across the nose of the Team Parker Racing Porsche. Sister car to it prepared by Team Parker, which is going to be Michael McInerney. Works his way past that on the run in towards the braking area for the Wilson hairpin. So traffic dealt with, and what was a 22-second lead from Mark Smith might have elapsed a little bit. Yeah, it's come down to 21.8. But you could see, even though he was patient working his way through the traffic, he still only lost a couple of tenths of a second over the Fraser Fenwick Group GTC leading Lamborghini from Top Cats, which sits there in second place. So Mark Smith looking as though he is on course for the 25 points for the win at this stage. He'll have also picked up the extra championship point for pole position, extra championship point for the fastest lap. For GTA though, we're still not quite sure what might happen, because Neil Wallace has been shadowed for the whole of this race by Brent Millage, who after a couple of years of sabbatical and not racing, dusted himself off and returned to the GT Cup Championship this year. Brent, who used to race motorcycles, raced Caterhams for a period of time, did race a Ginetta in previous years in GT Cup. It's been good to see him back this year. He's hoping he'll come back next year, albeit the car might be different. He's had a really thoroughly enjoyable season and has just got quicker and quicker and quicker as he's got more used to racing again, having had, what was it, the best part of 3, 4, maybe 5 years away. So to be right on the pace of Neil Wallace at this stage is good, and he's certainly not made it easy for Neil. He's too far away to have a run and an opportunity heading in towards the Wilson hairpin, but Neil didn't exactly make friends with the apex there, was a little bit wide through the hairpin, so that offers Brent a slight glimmer of hope, as over the start finish line onto what should be the final lap of the race comes Mark Smith. Now Mark so far this year has claimed 11 wins so far this year, and last time out at Donington Park he won all 4 races. So it really was a staggering performance. Last time we were here at Snetterton, he had a good run as well, because Snetterton, last time out earlier on in the season, which was in the early part of June, he won 3 of the 4 races here at Snetterton. So he's gelling well with this circuit, and he's looking to try and make it 5 on the bounce if he can in terms of wins. Now for Brent Millage, he'll be hoping that he might be able to score what for him would only be his second Group GTA win of the season, but he's still going to have his work cut out to try and weave his way through and past the GTA leading Beamer. For Mark Smith though, round through the left-hander at Hamilton for the final time. He's got 23.4 seconds advantage between himself and the car looks of Fraser Fenwick that's on for a win in Group GTC. Now Neil Wallace trying to stay out of harm's way as the Group GTH leaders go by. Owen Hizzy, very brave right the way around the outside at Nelson, did not want to ease up at all because he's in hot pursuit still of Hadley Simpson. They have now at least shaken away the aspirations of Archie Clark, who still is third in Group GTH but is struggling a little bit to try and work his way through the traffic as effectively as the 2 Ginettas did do. And Archie is going to have to wait until the start-finish line to work the Aston Martin through and past the squabbling pair for Group GTA. But for Mark Smith, our race leader, he's into the final sector of the race. He's just coming through the final corner now, which is Murray's, and he is on course for yet another win. 12 wins in the 2025 GT Cup Championship for Mark Smith, the McLaren and Paddock Motorsport. That's 5 on the bounce for them now as well, with the 4 back-to-back wins at Donington Park last time out, and that adds to the championship tally in Group GT3, which he is more than focused on trying to secure this weekend, because it is very tight for the top 3 in the championship standings in Group GT3. So Mark Smith with a dominant win Michael McInerney comes through to finish in 12th place, still being shadowed by Doc Bush, and it's a long wait before we see Fraser Fenwick come through, and that's the championship leading car that picks up maximum points in Group GTC. That's good for Fraser Fenwick, for Charlotte Gilbert, and for Top Cats Racing to finish in second. Peter Ursig finishes in third place, and he pulled a long way ahead of Darren Kell in the end, who, when he dropped to fourth, just lost a little bit of ground to the Audi. So Darren Kell comes through to finish in fourth place. Fifth place should be Frank Morris at the wheel of the number 63 Lamborghini. He's just coming out of Murray's now, so that will be second in Group GTC for him. Jack Gadd will finish sixth and third in Group GTC. And as for the lead battle in Group GTA, that is still continuing as they head down the Bentley Straight for the final time. So there's Jack Gadd through and over the start-finish line. Tom Walpole should be next. The lead battle in Group GTH is just threading its way out of Brundle and Nelson for the final time, with, by the look of things, Hadley Simpson having to soak up for a full 25 minutes the pressure of Owen Hizzy. And there's only one more corner now. As long as he gets Murray's right, and in particular, try and get cleanly off the corner, and it should be good for Hadley Simpson, who makes his debut in GT Cup, to claim a group win in his first race in the championship. So Hadley Simpson, he's had to work hard for that one, but he comes over the start-finish line to the delight of Innovation Racing and claims the win in Group GTH, finishing in 9th place overall. But wow, wasn't he shadowed all of the way by Owen Hizzy, who completes the top 10. Archie Clark comes through in 11th place, and the win in Group GTA is just going to go the way of Neil Wallace. And I think that probably now means that if it was ever in doubt, they are the Group GTA champions for this year. But Brent Millage, again, was not making it easy for the SVG Motorsport BMW. Let's just confirm some results for you then for the race that we've just seen. Round 19 of the 2025 GT Cup Championship here at Snetterton. Mark Smith claims the win, his fifth on the trot, with Fraser Fenwick finishing in second and winning Group GTC. Peter Urseg was third, ahead of Darren Kell in fourth. Frank Morris was fifth, ahead of Jack Gadd. Tom Walpole was next up in seventh place. Then it was James Cayley, and the win in Group GTH went the way of Hadley Simpson, who finished ninth, but he was shadowed all of the way by Owen Hezzy, who completed the top 10. Then as we move outside of the top 10, in 11th place it was Archie Clark from Michael McInerney, who finished in 12th place. Doc Bush was next up, ahead of Jamie Cordell, who was there in 14th. Matt Eddles had a spin, recovered to 15th. Neil Wallace claimed Group GTA, finished in 16th, but only just ahead of Brent Millage, who was the last of our finishers. So that's it. That's our sprint race done for GT Cup. We've got the pit stop race coming up for you later on this afternoon, so please join us around about 4:30. We're due to get the pit stop race underway. So from everybody here at Snetterton, Onside Productions, Butte Motorsport and GT Cup, we'll see you later on today. Goodbye.